So in your golf swing, a couple of things that stand out to me the most. Number one, I believe the backswing is not the most efficient, in the sense that I think you kind of put the variables a little bit out of position, to where you're always going to struggle with timing because you have to recover from those out of position variables on the way down. Meaning, we can always talk about like trying to get the club more shallow coming down, trying to get the body opening up better, trying to do other things in your golf swing that I'm sure you've seen, like coming down obviously a little bit on the steeper side, right? This club looks like it's wanting to pitch out in front of you, and then we see some like early extension at impact and a lot of flippiness at the bottom. I just want you to be aware of the fact that a lot of these things that you are seeing and experiencing are not actually downswing problems in their own. Like, they're not an isolated downswing issue. They are issues because your variables are already in a less than desirable spot at the top, and your body is just being athletic enough to recover from them. So I'm sure when you're on, you're really on, but when you're off, obviously the ball flights are not ideal. So what are part of the problems? What are the variables out of position in the backswing? So in my opinion, it's a combination of you don't quite rotate super well on the way back. You have some poor tilts to the body, and you don't quite create a lot of rotation. And the snowball effect of not being able to use your body well in the backswing gets the hands a little too high at the top of your backswing and gets the club a little too laid off. Laid off means pointing behind you. And then from there, it's just a battle to recover from them. So you're going to see in your setup position here, aiming a little bit left. I'm assuming this is because you tend to hook the ball every once in a while from the early extension and the flipping. That aiming left can maybe try to help offset that problem. It might also be unintentional, you tell me. But to me, this is more of a Band-Aid, like trying to aim open than actually curing the problem. So in an ideal world, long-term, I'd probably just keep your feet alignment a little bit more square. Biggest issue, which you're actually going to see it more from face on, but because your body doesn't rotate quite well, your hands have a tendency of disconnecting away from you and working very up and out. Usually, if golfers open up their hips, the chest is going to open. If they open up their chests, you'll see the hands wanting to work more inside and around, just naturally. But because you're somebody who obviously doesn't have a ton of hip turn really early, you can kind of see it from here to there, right? Your hips don't open up that much. They kind of stay a little bit more inactive. For the first 2/3 of your backswing, your hands are very much staying in front of you. They're not working around you very well. So your hands are moving in isolation, very disconnected from the body, very out and up because of the hip turn, not because of the hands themselves. And so as soon as you get to the top of your swing from there, because like I said, you keep your right knee a little too flexed, you keep your right hip a little too closed, you just don't open them up very well on the way back, your arm plane gets super upright, your club gets very laid off, and this combination usually makes it really easy to come down steep into the ball. And so you'll see here, if I actually highlight the club movement, your club is going to start to steepen on you as you come down, meaning it's going to progressively get more and more vertical into the downswing. It's the opposite of shallowing, essentially, right? So the club's trying to steepen and work this way into the ball, and then your spine basically just early extends and gets very tall, which is why you see a lot of jumpiness. So like if you look at your head and your spine here, and then you look at it through the ball, you can see how you stand up and back up and all of that, and then obviously from there you flip. So a lot of timing. Obviously you're really good at being able to manage that, but I mean, your ceiling to improve is so high. So whatever scoring capabilities you have now, you can only imagine once we clean up these details how much better it can actually get. And so from face on here, I'll back this up a little bit. You can actually see it. So when you take this club back, you'll see this is a quite common trait of people who don't load well into the hips, which is where if you look and I'll highlight the hips, there's just a big lateral bump away from the target. So right hip goes away and almost like breaks through this wall. Left hip works this way as well. So your hips end up bumping instead of turning. And this is a big reason why you don't quite rotate as well as you should. And then from there, the upper body just kind of leans towards the target. So it's almost like a little bit of a reverse pivot. The hips are going one way and the chest is going the other. And then from there, because the hips aren't rotating well, the chest can't rotate well. When the chest can't rotate well, the hands get very high, and then the club gets very laid off, and then from there you slide in reaction to it and early extend and all of that. So as much as we would like to cure all the downswing variables, out of position and stuff that we're seeing, I just need you to understand, and what we're going to prioritize is that a lot of this comes from the loading pattern in the backswing, and your body's reacting to those on the way down. So if we have to clean anything up, it has to start from the root of the problem, which is more so your setup being a little aiming left, and obviously the loading pattern in the backswing.